very much. I'd like to introduce Paul Blanchard. He's going to do our first talk today.
Thank you. Good morning. Thank you very much for coming. Before I get started, I'd like you to do something for me, please. If you'd all stand up, if you would. If you don't mind, if you stand up. Thank you. Right, thank you. You just sit down, if you would. All right. And now, just think for a minute. You'll never do that again for the rest of your life. That's where I am, and unfortunately a lot more. 3 years ago, I was 6'2", fit and confident, and because of an accident, I'm leading a different life, and hopefully we can talk a little bit about it now. I was a builder all my working life, from being 16 and leaving school. I actually loved my job. There wasn't a day I didn't want to get up and go to work. And I was quite successful, actually. I used to run a small firm. We had about 4 or 5, maybe a few more at certain times. But I had a really, if you like, I wouldn't say an idyllic world, but I had a happy way of life. I've been married for 38 years. I've got 2 grown-up children, grandchildren. And again, I don't want to repeat, but things were just rolling along nicely, even looking forward to an early retirement. This is myself and my granddaughter. And this wasn't long before my accident, actually. But I think I'm trying to express the feeling of where you are in life when things are fine with you. I used to be a very good squash player. I was playing for county at 55-year-old. I loved camping. We used to keep horses. We had a very, very active outdoor and a fit life. This is the scene of my accident. On July the 18th, 2010, I went to work. These were farmers. I'd previously done a barn conversion into a house for them, and very successfully as well, actually. But they've pestered me. It was a sort of wet times, and they was worried about damp getting into the building. And what it was replacing some perspex corrugating sheets on the lower level and higher up on the roofs. It was a Sunday morning when they fetched me, actually. And, well, I was going to go, because we was going to go camping the following week. And I thought, well, let's see if we can help them out. And really, I didn't particularly want the job, like I said. But I looked at it and I thought, well, I can cope with them, that lower levels. I wasn't prepared to go higher, but on this lower level, thinking, well, that's not too serious. So I removed a couple of sheets, and then it started to rain. So I even went home. And I went home, sat about, it fared up about 11 o'clock in the morning, and I went back to the job. I mean, this is really a combination of the things. And how it happened, I don't know. I can't remember the accident at all. I can remember working away, everything fine, but I can't think, oh heck, I'm going. But the next thing I knew, it was 3 months later. But apparently I'd fell through, and there was like a cattle railing half the way down. It's what I fell on. I fell on a railing and I'd hit it, and then it threw me back and forth and etc. And this is how I ended up in intensive care. I was airlifted, and this is Gainsborough, North Lincolnshire, by the way, where I'm from, just north of Lincoln, probably about 5 miles from where we lived. And I didn't know about it. It's only what I found out as if things move on. I was airlifted to Lincoln Hospital. And they couldn't cope with me injuries, so then I was transferred to Sheffield intensive care and then spinal injury unit, which I've got a lot of respect for them, actually. They did save my life, and they're one of 16 units in the country. I had a broken back. I'm paralysed from the chest down. T6 it's called, actually, and apparently if it had been one more vertebrae up, it would have been your arms as well. So I don't really know if I'd want to be here for that, you know. And also, I had a category of errors, really. I had many broken ribs. I had a punctured lung, which at the time, that didn't seem to worry me too much. That in the context of it seemed, it wasn't, because in the context of the accident and all the injuries, etc., it didn't seem too much. But obviously, I can't excel with things, with running and walking, etc. But I realised at Christmas, actually, and we was trying to blow up Christmas balloons and trimming it, etc. I couldn't blow one up. I couldn't put nothing into it. And I got my 12-year-old granddaughter to come along with them. And that sort of brought that home with it. I also lost my sense of smell. And again, at the time, it doesn't seem important. But as time goes on, fair enough, you can't smell your food. You can't smell your aftershave. You can't smell a woman's perfume. But you can't smell your body hygiene. And that worries me. Because I have to manage that sort of thing that seriously and keep an eye on it. I don't know if I want to go to the toilet. And so I have to do a clockwork. I have to do things every morning, which I won't go into, and etc. But I was driving with my son-in-law, who was going somewhere or something, and he started looking at me a bit suspicious, if you like, and unconcerned. And I said, "What's up?" And he says, "I reckon you've messed your son." He didn't actually use that word like, but I reckon you've messed your son. So that's something to keep an eye on. They was fined £35,000 for that, for the farmers, for that, which is fair enough. That's how it goes along. But what I didn't like about it, their defence was my incompetence. Now, I've been a builder for 40 years. I was primarily a bricklayer, but I've done house building, I've done unanimous type of things. But I blame myself for that accident. I accepted that risk on that lower level. I thought to myself, I'm going to be all right doing that. And so I did look at it. I thought, I'm not going further up. We'll have to rig something up. But to me, right, we'll do that. We can keep them happy. And what a word I use is complacency. I don't want to preach about health and safety. There's too many people out there who know a damn sight more about it than I do. But I become complacent, whether it's 40 years working or whether it's 5 years working, whether I was brought up in the 70s with the trade. But I accepted that level of risk. And, I have to live with the consequences of that. I spent 6 months in hospital. 3 months of it was in a coma. An induced coma, because they couldn't operate on the back because of the lungs, and etc. So I didn't know a lot about that. But my wife and my daughter, they travel from Sheffield to from Gainsborough to Sheffield, which is 40 miles each way. Every day, she never missed. She's here today, actually, the first time ever, but she's gone for a walkabout. But every day they never missed that. And they was told on, 2 or 3 occasions, actually, I wasn't going to make it through the night. So it's only in retrospect which I realised what they had gone through. I come round after about 3 months, and at first you was in a rehabilitation ward to recovering, and you learn to get out into the wheelchair and basically try to move into your way of life. I always remember the first time they took me out of bed, and I was hoisted out of it. I think you might have seen it on the television. It's like a hoist. It's strung up like a chicken, you are, really. And I started to realise where my life had turned. They never actually told me that I was paralysed. It took me a long time. In fact, I had to ask the questions to be right. And the first time I was put in the shower, it was on a rubber bed. And then I can't move. I couldn't do anything. I couldn't even see my toddler. But they're messing about with you, and you start realising the indignity and how your life is upside down. And then this is how you can laugh, I suppose. But then they told me how to go to the toilet, and instructed me which I've got to shove this up the penis 4 times a day. So that's how it does, because you've got no actions, you've got no body actions, yourself in controllable actions anyhow. So you put that in and you express, and that's it. But you've got to do that yourself. And I'm not going to go into detail about the other half, but I think you can probably imagine the consequences. I mentioned my head injuries and my sense of smell. They didn't seem that important at the time, but they was more the life-threatening. The head injury was more the life-threatening one. I also remember when the doctor consultant come in with about 6 of his mates, if you like, and I think they come to see if I was brain damaged, to be honest. And he said to me, what was the Prime Minister? And I said, well, David Cameron. So I thought good about that. And he said, spell the word world back to front. And I started laughing at him, and he said, what are you laughing at? I said I couldn't effing spell that before I come in, never mind now. But anyhow, I think they realised I was all right. So, and that's it. And one of the funniest things I had was dreams. Not nightmares. I never had any recurrence. In fact, I don't get flashbacks about it at all. But I used to dream about strangest things. I thought I was in Rod Stewart's backing group, because we was going to go see him actually a fortnight after my accident. I thought I was in New Zealand. God knows why I was in New Zealand, but I was. And then when I get my senses together a bit, wife and daughter used to come in. I thought, this is fantastic, flying over from Gainsborough every day. It's great. But they was the sort of things. And then as time moved on, I mean, the definition of a patient is a patient. That's what it's all about. But I was confused, I was scared, and I was angry. And that's when it started to dawn on to me. The things like going to the bathroom, getting in your wheelchair, getting in and out of bed, and then it got to getting in and out of the car. The whole aspect, your life is upside down. I think people, and it's understandable that you can't walk, but it's the consequences of not being able to walk. That time in that hospital for my wife and daughter, I can only think about it. But when first time Jenny come in to see me, and I recognised, and I saw her, if you like, I didn't recognise her. It took that much out of her. It was unreal. We lived we've got a nice house actually. We had a very nice house, but it wasn't suitable for us because I couldn't get upstairs and this, that, and the other. We're fortunately we're in a bungalow now, and we're being a builder. I know about the aspects of being able to adapt it, etc. But I do think there's a bit of a culture out there which everything tends to be more and more, or twice as much as it should be. Your sex life's gone. I'm actually paralysed in the chest. There's nothing there at all. And to be honest, it's not only the pleasure of sex you've lost, which in itself is there, like, but that you've had that companionship with somebody for 40 years, and that's something that's really missed. And I suppose one good thing that come out of it really, it seemed to have cured the wife's headaches, but still, that's the you know what I mean? Oh, yeah. The divorce rate's phenomenal, especially in younger people. That's what bothers me. That does a lot, because I think that I've been quoting things again. Apparently, if people who have an accident like that under 40, the divorce rate or split up if it's a partner, etc., is something in 80 and 90%. The woman, if you like, the woman or man can't cope with it, and I understand that because a young woman, 25-year-old, or a man, whichever sexism you want to use about it, faced with 45, 50 years of being a carer, they maybe haven't had children. I've got nothing to complain about that myself, to be honest with you. I don't drink a lot, but I have had my moments. I've had my sad moments, if you like. If you're drowning your sorrows, and then we've had the tearful evenings and etc. And the wife tends to does that where she maybe give me a weekend whiskey and you can have what you like when you get to bed, and that's how that's handled. But on a personal level, I'm quite in control of that. I was very fit. I was 55-year-old, play squash, lay 1,000 bricks a day and everything. I was told in hospital at 55-year-old I shouldn't have survived that accident and it wasn't just the back, it was the head injuries, the punctured lung, the broken ribs. So I'm not trying to take gratitude out of that, but if something to be learned, you just living an healthy, if you like, a fit lifestyle. I was very lucky that day. And then as things move on and the more I learn, the more I realise how lucky I was. You'd never recover. How can you recover when you can never walk, you can never do the sort of things which I've described to you again? You just learn to live that different way of life. So even coming in here today, parking up across the way, pedalling it across the way, being access to people, you can't duck and dive. And I don't mean that in a dodgy sense either. You just got to be so regimented. You've got to be so careful about things. And my world has got smaller. And by that, I don't mean jet setting around the world. I mean being able to walk the dog. being able to put the bins out, being able to cut the grass. I mean, some men might like to watch his wife cut the grass, like I personally don't. But it's just that, or being able to pop to the shop because you want a bread loaf for a pint of milk. It's just not there. And I can understand how people can become a prisoner in their own home, actually. My wife, she's gone for a walk, like I say, she asked me actually only a few days ago, are you happy? And I had to took a while actually to think about it. And I sort of concluded, like, yeah, I'm as happy as I can be. You know, because everything's gone away with you so much. And so you have to try to reform your life. It's like with work and anything about it. I want to add up. Don't get me wrong, I want flush, but I didn't have much more mortgage left. I had a few grand in the bank just for rainy days, like most people my age do. But I had 3 months in a coma, and my wife would never go and be on a joint bank account with us. Not because I was chauvinistic or she just never wanted to go. She was happy how it goes. But she ended up having to get power of attorney to go into the bank and get some access to money. My son used to work for us. Now, again, I want around to get contacts. We was lucky people sort of bailed him out. But whether he blames this or not, he hasn't worked for 2 years. I mean, people have problems with the children. I know they do. I'm not blaming my situation with it, but it certainly hasn't helped. We was fine with money, like I said, and I'm just really talking about what I said. That's duplicated itself. We had to move to a bungalow, which I'm very happy with. We're comfortable about it. And again, having the skills, if you like, to know what was going on. You have the electric sockets this high, so you can turn them up, the switches this high and stuff. There's a lot of people out there who haven't got that knowledge, and I don't think there isn't that much support, or there's not as much support as people think. I bought a hand bike. You know, just like you think about a hand bike, but a motorised one for your feet. And the reason I do that is because, not just muscle tone, which is all right if you could do it, circulation. Circulation's a big thing. There's a lot of problems can come from circulation, we think. But that hand bike cost me £4,500. I spent a damn sight less on cars. And this is where I come into it seemed to justify itself a lot more. I was compensated. I was compensated quite well and quickly, actually, but it doesn't mean nothing to me. Like I said earlier, I was all right. What's your name, by the way? John. You tell me, what do you want? £1 million of your legs? It speaks for itself, doesn't it? It don't mean a thing. You can pay your bills, you can drink, you can eat, so it's irrelevant at the end of the day. I learn about things. But the consultant hospital actually said, you'll know more about this than your GP. It's like I said about circulation. Sores on your legs, on your feet, which they don't just go like a blister. It don't go a couple of weeks or forget about it. It's gone. They're there forever and a day. I had one on behind. I was in bed for 3 months with it, and I was even due to go in hospital, have plastic surgery of it. And with it having no feelings from the chest down, you feel no pain. I think pain's a good thing personally. It's a warning sign that's telling you something's going wrong. But what actually happens is you can get, if there's something going wrong, you'll get like throbbing headaches, sweats and shaking. And you have to learn to be aware of that. I talked about wheelchairs and clothes. I went down to Exmoor with on an activities weekend with an organisation called Backup, and that's exactly what they do. They back you up and support. And I was upset because I was the eldest one there by far. And there was a young girl, 26, a 25-year-old, 30. Not particularly industrial accidents, but they was paralysed. And that's where it started to dawn on me about the age things. And what, if you like, what I have had. I've walked my daughter down the aisle. I've done this. I've done all them things that every man ought to do. I try to find things to fill my time. I like modelling. I've even thought about going back in a building and managing, if you're not site managing a job, an extension and delegating. So I look at it as where, I'm 58 now, but I'm still too young to give up. Go with it. I don't want to sit and fester. I don't want this to beat me, to be honest with you. That's how it is. I love driving a car. I absolutely love driving it. I feel normal. I feel in that place where everybody else is. Fair enough, I can't get out. Well, I can get out with a wheelchair, but I can't get out and put the petrol in. But I feel you're totally in control with that. and I like that a lot. And on a personal level, I want to be positive, but sometimes it can be very difficult, I can assure you, with it. That into cockiness when I put that, I thought I know it as all. I'm coming back to the experience of things, and in the building trade, it's a culture actually. People do take chances, and that chance, if you have that chance, that acceptance of risk, it becomes habit forming, and that's something that it is. I think we've been, if you like, learned or trained in the 70s. I know it's picking up now, and I know it's a lot better, but I think it's a little bit of a culture like that. And I will say, like, don't let this happen to you. And I think we've all got influences from other people. I have a brother, and he's a foreman, brother-in-law, sorry. He's a foreman in a wood mill. And he's gone in there, and he's I won't say he's laid the finger down, but he's created an health and safety culture in there, above and beyond the call of duty, if you like. So I take a lot out of that. And to quote a friend, actually, which is Jason Anker, I think he spoke here last year, and his talk really is to be proud to be safe. And that's a mindset in yourself. Think safe with it. And just as this speech is part of behaviour and safety programme with a fellow that got hold of me actually, Dan Terry. He found me on the television, and he brought me into it, and I've started to do a few things, and I'm very grateful to him because he's helped me greatly with my recovery, and I take a lot out of today. This is very rewarding for myself, so I hope it does go back the other way. Think twice at one, and to finally conclude about it, I put it my life in t'other, but then words speak for themselves. I don't half miss how it was. I can't turn the clock back, and I have to be as positive as I can do, but there's a lot gone, and I'd like to end on that. Thank you for your time. Thank you.
Paul, what impact has your fall from height had on your life in general?
Everything. I think people assume that you're in a wheelchair, you can't walk, and that's about the essence of your disability. But it's things like going to the bathroom, trying to get a shower, getting in and out of bed, whether you get a car, access to places. I mean, I know this disability access is there now, but it's not as much as you need. It makes me reluctant to attempt to go to places. I would never think again on the train with it, or again on a plane, which I absolutely love flying. It's just every aspect of your life is affected, the whole package. And hopefully we try to think positive, but all of a sudden you think, well, I can't do that. And so I used to be able to do that, but you can't. So you just try to create and learn to live that different life.
Yes, and he's presenting at our company on the 23rd of this month.
Where are you?
Cluxton Construction. We've got a building a waste to energy project in Ardley, and Paul's coming to site to do a presentation to the workforce of about 150 people during the day, during 4 sessions. So very powerful, very informative, and it makes you think back and look how lucky you are.
It brings back the reality of how something so quickly can change your life like that.
What positive reaction have you had from your audience over the last 3 days?
Positive. Well attended, which I'm pleased about. The reaction was there. You could see there was grasp by it. And then the after effect as well, after I've had conversations with people, very moved. So I consider it a job well done. I'm pleased to be doing it.